She didn't know his name when she asked him to dance. She didn't know about the empire his father built on blood and silence. And she definitely didn't know that, by sunrise, her entire life would be different. This is the story of Amara, a woman who made one choice at a wedding in Milan. One single choice that would chain her to the most dangerous family in Europe. But here's what makes this story different. The man she danced with. He wasn't like the others. He didn't speak much, didn't look people in the eye. And according to everyone in that room, he was untouchable. His name was Matteo Rossi. And before that night, no woman had ever gotten close to him. Stay with me, because what happened next wasn't a love story. It was a trap, and Amara walked right into it. Let me take you back to the beginning. Amara wasn't supposed to be in Italy at all. She was a financial analyst from Lagos, 28 years old, sharp mind, even sharper tongue. She'd flown to Milan for her cousin's wedding, expecting nothing more than good food, loud music, and maybe a few awkward conversations with distant relatives. The wedding was at a historic villa on the outskirts of the city. Old money, marble floors, chandeliers that looked like they cost more than her apartment back home. Her cousin had married into a wealthy Italian-Nigerian family, the kind of family that kept their business quiet and their circle smaller. Amara noticed him during the reception. He stood near the back of the hall, alone, hands in his pockets, dark suit, clean cut, handsome in a way that felt almost unreal. But it wasn't his looks that caught her attention. It was the way everyone avoided him. People would glance at him, whisper, then look away quickly, like they'd seen something they shouldn't have. Amara's curiosity kicked in. She watched him for nearly an hour. He never moved, never smiled, never pulled out his phone like everyone else. He just stood there, observing. And then, halfway through the night, something inside her said, "Go talk to him." Now, here's where the first crack in the story appears. A question you need to keep in your head. Why was Matteo even at that wedding? Because later Amara would learn something that would make her blood run cold. But we'll get to that. She walked up to him with a glass of wine in her hand and a smile on her face. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else," she said. He didn't respond right away. His eyes stayed on the dance floor. Then slowly, he turned to look at her. His gaze was different, intense, but not in a threatening way. More like he was scanning her, reading her, trying to figure out if she was real. "I don't dance," he said. His voice was low, flat, no emotion. "I didn't ask you to," Amara replied. "I just said you look miserable." For the first time that night, the corner of his mouth lifted. Not quite a smile, but close. "I am," he said. She laughed. "Then why are you here?" "Family obligation." "Ah, the worst kind." He looked at her again. This time, longer. And Amara felt something shift in the air between them. "You're not from here," he said. "Lagos," she replied. "You?" "Here, Milan." "You don't sound excited about it." "I'm not." There was a pause, a comfortable one. And then Amara did something she'd never done before. She held out her hand. "One dance," she said. "Then I'll leave you alone." He stared at her hand like it was a weapon. "I don't dance," he repeated. "You said that already." "I mean it." "Come on," she pushed. "One song. What's the worst that could happen?" Now, here's the second question you need to hold on to. What was the worst that could happen? Because Matteo knew. And if Amara had known what he knew, she never would have asked. He took her hand. It surprised her. She'd expected him to walk away, but he didn't. He led her to the edge of the dance floor, away from the crowd, where the lights were dim and the music was softer. They swayed. barely moving. His hand rested lightly on her waist, like he was afraid to hold her too tight. Amara looked up at him. "You're not bad at this." "I'm counting steps in my head," he said. She smiled. "You don't have to do that." "I do. Or I'll mess up." "Then mess up," she said. "It's just a dance." He didn't respond, but his grip tightened, just a little. They stayed like that for the rest of the song, quiet, close. And for a moment, Amara forgot where she was. When the music ended, he let go. "Thank you," he said. And then he walked away. Just like that. Amara stood there, confused. She'd expected him to say something else, ask for her name, her number, anything. But he didn't. She went back to her table, drank more wine, laughed with her cousins, and tried to forget about the strange man who counted steps when he danced. 3 hours later, she woke up in a bed that wasn't hers. The room was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows, white sheets, dark wood furniture. Everything smelled like expensive cologne and leather. Her head pounded. Her mouth was dry. And she had no idea how she got there. She sat up slowly. Her dress was still on. Shoes on the floor, purse on the nightstand. Panic started to creep in. She grabbed her phone. No messages, no missed calls. Battery at 12%. The door opened. Matteo walked in, holding a glass of water. Amara's heart slammed against her ribs. "Where am I?" she asked. Her voice came out sharper than she intended. "My home," he said, calm. Like this was normal. "Why?" "You collapsed." What?" "At the wedding. You collapsed. I brought you here." Amara's mind raced. She didn't remember collapsing. She didn't remember leaving the villa. She didn't remember anything after that second glass of wine. "Why didn't you take me to a hospital?" she asked. "You didn't need one." "How do you know that?" "I had a doctor check you. You were dehydrated, exhausted. He said you'd be fine." "A doctor came here?" "Yes." She stared at him. Something about this didn't feel right. "I need to leave," she said. "You can. But it's 4 a.m, and you're in the mountains. There's no cell service here. The nearest town is 40 minutes away." Amara's throat tightened. "Who are you?" she asked. He set the glass of water on the nightstand. "Matteo," he said. "I know your name. I'm asking who you are." He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something flicker behind his eyes. Not anger, not fear. Something worse. Guilt. "You should drink the water," he said, "and get some rest. I'll take you back to the city in the morning." Then he left, and Amara sat there, alone in a stranger's bed, with 100 questions and no answers. She didn't sleep. She spent the next 2 hours searching the room, looking for clues, a wallet, a phone, anything that would tell her where she was or who Matteo really was. But the room was empty, clean, almost sterile. The only personal item she found was a book on the nightstand, The Stranger by Albert Camus, worn cover, dog-eared pages. She opened it. On the first page, in careful handwriting, was a note. "For Matteo. May you find what you're looking for. Papa." Amara's stomach turned. She put the book back, sat on the edge of the bed, and waited. When the sun came up, Matteo returned. He was dressed differently now. Black t-shirt, jeans. He looked more relaxed, but his eyes were the same, distant, guarded. "Ready?" he asked. "I want answers first," Amara said. "I'll answer what I can in the car." "No, now," he sighed, ran a hand through his hair, then sat down in the chair across from her. "What do you want to know?" "Why did you bring me here instead of a hospital?" "Because hospitals ask questions." "What kind of questions?" "The kind I can't answer." "Why not?" "Because of who my father is." And there it was. The crack in the story widened. "Who's your father?" Amara asked. Matteo looked at her, and she could see the weight in his eyes. "Antonio Rossi," he said. The name didn't mean anything to her. Not yet. "Should I know who that is?" she asked. "If you're smart, no." "What does that mean?" "It means my father controls things people don't talk about. And when someone associated with him ends up in a hospital, people start asking questions that lead to problems." Amara's pulse quickened. "Are you saying your father is—" "Yes," Matteo interrupted. "He is." The word hung in the air between them. Mafia. Amara's mouth went dry. "And you?" she asked. "I'm his son." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." He drove her back to Milan in silence. The car was a black Mercedes. Leather interior. Tinted windows. Everything about it screamed money and danger. Amara sat in the passenger seat, her mind spinning. She kept replaying the night in her head. The dance, the wine, the blank space where her memory should be. "Did you drug me?" she asked suddenly. Matteo's hands tightened on the wheel. "No," he said. "Then why can't I remember anything?" "I don't know." "That's not good enough." "It's the truth." She turned to look at him, studied his face. He wasn't lying. She could tell. But that didn't make her feel any better. "Why did you dance with me?" she asked. "You asked." "And you never say no?" "I do. But you were different." "Different how?" He didn't answer. They drove for another 20 minutes before he finally spoke again. "You weren't afraid of me," he said. "Everyone at that wedding was afraid of me. Even the people who smiled. Even the ones who pretended to be friendly. But you weren't. You looked at me like I was just a person." Amara felt something twist in her chest. "Are you?" she asked. "Am I what?" "Just a person." He glanced at her, and for the first time she saw something vulnerable in his expression. "I don't know," he said. He dropped her off at her hotel. "Thank you," she said, though she wasn't sure what she was thanking him for. "Be careful," he replied. "Of what?" "Me. My family. All of it." And then he drove away. Amara stood on the sidewalk, watching the car disappear into traffic. She should have felt relieved. She should have gone upstairs, packed her things, and booked the next flight back to Lagos. But she didn't, because something inside her had shifted. A curiosity, a pull, a need to understand the man who counted steps when he danced and lived in a world where hospitals were too dangerous. She didn't hear from him for 3 days. She tried to move on, went sightseeing, had dinner with her cousins, told herself it was just a strange night and nothing more. But on the 4th day, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "It's Matteo." Her heart skipped. "How did you get my number?" "Does it matter?" "Yes. I have resources." "That's not comforting." I know. But I need to see you." "Why?" "Because something's wrong." "What do you mean?" "Meet me. I'll explain." "No. Amara." "How do you know my name?" Silence. "Matteo, how do you know my name?" "Because I've been looking into you," he said. "And I found something. Something you need to know." Her blood ran cold. "What did you find?" "Not over the phone. Meet me. Tonight. Please." She should have said no. Should have hung up. Should have blocked the number and never looked back. But she didn't. "Where?" she asked. He told her to meet him at a cafe near the Duomo. Public. Safe. She arrived 15 minutes early, sat at a table near the window, ordered an espresso she didn't drink. When Matteo walked in, every head turned. He was dressed in a dark coat, sunglasses, even though it was evening. He moved like someone who was used to being watched. He sat down across from her. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Just tell me what's going on." He reached into his coat and pulled out a folder, set it on the table between them. "Open it," he said. She did. Inside were photos, documents, bank statements, and at the top, a picture of her, taken at the wedding. "What is this?" she asked. "You were targeted," Matteo said. Her stomach dropped. "Targeted? By who?" "I don't know yet. But someone wanted you at that wedding. Someone wanted you near me. Why? Because of who you are. I'm nobody. You're the daughter of someone my father's organization has been watching for years." Amara's hand started to shake. "My father's a retired accountant." "He was more than that, and someone in my father's world knows it." She stared at him, her mind racing. "What do they want?" "I don't know, but you're not safe. Not here, not in Lagos, not anywhere." "This is insane." "I know. Why are you telling me this?" He looked at her, and she saw it again, that flicker of vulnerability. "Because I made a mistake," he said. "I should have let someone else take you to the hospital that night. I should have stayed away from you, but I didn't. And now you're involved." "Involved in what?" "In something you can't walk away from." The next 2 weeks were a blur. Matteo kept her close, not in a romantic way, in a protective one. He moved her to a safe house, assigned guards, had his people dig into her father's past, and slowly, the truth came out. Her father hadn't been just an accountant. He'd been a forensic accountant. And 20 years ago, he'd uncovered something that implicated one of the largest crime families in West Africa. He'd gone into hiding, changed his name, started over. But someone had found him, and they'd been watching, waiting. And then Amara showed up in Milan, at a wedding connected to the Rossi family. It was too perfect, too convenient. "They wanted to use you," Matteo explained. "To get to your father, to get to my father. I don't know the full picture yet, but you were bait." Amara felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her. "And you?" she asked. "Why do you care?" He didn't answer right away. "Because," he said finally, "no one's ever looked at me the way you did. Like I was worth something." They grew closer, not in the way you'd expect. He taught her how to read the world he came from, how to spot danger, how to stay invisible. She challenged him, made him talk, made him laugh, even if it was rare. And somewhere in the middle of all that fear and uncertainty, something shifted. One night, after a long day of meetings and dead ends, they were sitting on the balcony of the safe house. The city glowed below them. "I never wanted this life," Matteo said. "Then why don't you leave?" "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because I'm not like other people. I don't process things the way they do. I don't understand the social cues. I don't know how to lie or manipulate or charm my way through a room. In my father's world, that makes me weak, but it also makes me predictable, controllable." Amara looked at him, really looked at him. "You're not weak," she said. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He turned to her, and for the first time she saw something break in his expression. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" "For everything. For dragging you into this. For not being strong enough to stop it." "You didn't drag me into anything," Amara said. "I asked you to dance, remember?" He smiled. A real one. Sad and beautiful. "Yeah," he said. "You did." The trap closed a week later. Matteo's father called a meeting, said he wanted to meet the woman his son had been protecting. It wasn't a request. Matteo tried to refuse. But Antonio Rossi didn't take no for an answer. They went to the family estate, a fortress on the edge of the city. Amara met Antonio in his study, a man in his 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes. He looked at her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "You're the one who danced with my son," he said. "Yes," Amara replied. "Do you know what that means?" "No. It means you're either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both." He smiled, not kindly. "I like you," he said. "But liking you doesn't change the situation. You're a liability, and liabilities need to be managed." Matteo stepped forward. "No." Antonio's gaze shifted to his son. "Excuse me?" "I said no. She's not a part of this. She became a part of this the moment you brought her into our home. Then that's on me, not her. Matteo, I won't let you hurt her." The room went silent. Antonio stared at his son, and Amara could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. "You care about her," Antonio said. "Not a question, a statement." Matteo didn't answer. "Then you'll do what needs to be done," Antonio said. "Or I will." That night, Matteo told Amara the truth. His father had given him a choice. Either bring Amara deeper into the family, make her useful, make her complicit, or eliminate the problem entirely. "I won't let him hurt you," Matteo said. "But I can't protect you unless you trust me. Completely." "What are you asking me to do?" "Stay with me in this world. Not as a prisoner. As something more." Amara's chest tightened. "You're asking me to give up my life." "I'm asking you to start a new one. With you?" "Yes." She looked at him. This man who'd pulled her into the darkest corners of a world she never knew existed. This man who counted steps when he danced and saw the world differently than everyone else. This man who, despite everything, had tried to keep her safe. "What if I say no?" she asked. "Then I'll get you out. Tonight. I'll put you on a plane, and you'll never hear from me again. And you?" "I'll deal with my father, one way or another." Amara closed her eyes. She thought about her life in Lagos, her job, her apartment, her routine. And she thought about the man standing in front of her, broken and dangerous and somehow, impossibly, the most honest person she'd ever met. "One condition," she said. "Anything. You teach me everything. How this world works, how to survive in it. I'm not going to be helpless." He nodded. "Deal." 6 months later, Amara stood in the same study where she'd first met Antonio Rossi. But this time, she wasn't afraid. She'd learned the language of this world, the power plays, the silent threats, the delicate balance of loyalty and fear. And now she'd learned something else. She was good at it. Antonio looked at her across his desk. "You've surprised me," he said. "How so?" "I thought you'd run, or break, but you've done neither." "I'm harder to break than I look," he smiled. A real one this time. "My son chose well." Amara didn't respond, because she knew the truth. She hadn't been chosen. She'd chosen. And that made all the difference. That night, she and Matteo sat on the same balcony where he'd apologized months before. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "What?" "Asking me to dance." She looked at him, at the man who'd become her anchor in a world of chaos. "No," she said. "Do you?" "No." "Even though it changed everything?" "Especially because it changed everything." They sat in silence, the city glowing below them. And Amara realized something. She'd woken up in his bed 6 months ago with no memory of how she got there. But now, she knew exactly where she was. And why? Because sometimes, one dance is all it takes. One choice, one moment, one person who sees you differently than everyone else. And suddenly, your entire life shifts. Not into something easier, not into something safer, but into something real. This is the story of Amara and Mateo, a woman who asked a question, and a man who finally answered. If you want to hear more stories like this, stories about choices, consequences, and the people who live in the spaces between right and wrong, hit that subscribe button. Because the world is full of moments that change everything. You just have to be brave enough to take the first step. Or in Amara's case, ask for the first dance.